everyone, this is the first episode of our new show, Solve It, a podcast where we solve puzzles, codes, and talk about the history of encryption. I'm Sam Cherry, and this is my co-host,
Zach Johnson.
How are you, Zach?
I'm doing all right.
Now, Zach, I can hear the hesitation in your voice. Do you want to tell the audience what the original title of this podcast was?
Zach hates puzzles.
Right, and why is it that you hate puzzles?
Puzzles are the dumbest. They're just around just to trick your brain, and like they're all based on one person in on a joke that no one else is in on, and it's like just an excuse to make fun of a person that doesn't get the joke. And I hate them, and I can never figure them out, especially the ones that you send me.
Wait, what show do you think I'm pitching to you?
You're pitching. I like to imagine
you.
I like to imagine this show is going to go in such a direction where, like, I'm going to wake up and there's going to be like boxes of puzzles on my doorstep, and I'm going to have to solve them. It's going to be mega frustrating.
I'm not going to tell you that packages won't start showing up at your house, but
okay, good.
That is interesting that you think of puzzles as something, a joke that everyone can pull on another person to laugh at them.
No, they're like riddles. Like,
okay.
So for example, if I know the answer to a riddle and you don't know the answer to the riddle,
yeah,
it's to a point where everyone else knows what the answer is, and I have always been the last person to find out what the answer is.
Yeah, I think that's how most people feel about puzzles and codes. It's hard to even know what to look for. Take Morse code, for example. Fairly simple code language uses dots and dashes to represent letters. But if you don't know that Morse code exists or how it works, it's impossible to expect anyone to figure out what the message is. So I think that's something we can help out with the show, is explaining what these codes look like and how to tell them apart. So when you're given a puzzle, you would know more what you're looking for instead of just given, like you were given some pictures and letters that are just completely indecipherable.
Nonsense.
All right, well, I'm going to explain how the show works for the listeners and you. Actually, these rules, I don't think I've run by you yet. So each week, one of us is going to make up a puzzle for the other to solve using a known system of encryption, and then explain the history of that system. Rule number 1, there must be rules. The puzzles that we give each other have to use an existing system or ciphers and codes. We can't just make up our own, because, like you said, that would be completely impossible to solve, right? If you know that, well, what you're supposed to do is take the third letter and move it back 3 spaces, and then take the fourth letter and move it up 2, it's like, okay, well, yeah, I guess you've got an unbreakable code, but it's also total nonsense. Like, you might as well be making up your own words.
Exactly.
Right. It's like, well, oh, okay, you're right. You made up a word and I don't know what it means, but that doesn't make you
smarter.
A puzzle master. Rule number 2, everything needs to be there. All the clues needed to solve the puzzle must be in the puzzle itself. Some clues can lead to other clues, so everything doesn't need to be there at the start, but no guessing should be required. For example, if a code needs a code word to solve, for like a certain ciphers you need a code word to figure out how to decode it, the guesser should have encountered that code word at some point earlier in the puzzle. So you wouldn't be in a situation where you're given a code and it's like, oh, you need a code word, and then you just have to brute force guess every word you know until you solve it. Because that's totally impossible, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this week for our first episode, I sent you a puzzle on Twitter. And you can, if you're following along, you can see that at Samuel_Cherry_. Okay, so Zach, do you have the puzzle in front of you?
I do have the puzzle in front of me.
Okay, could you describe what it is that you're looking at?
Okay, so this puzzle is 3 pictures and some letters on a black background. The 3 pictures are all the same picture, and it is depicting what I'm assuming is Julius Caesar's assassination. And the reason why I have come to this sort of conclusion is because in the picture it has Julius Caesar backed up against a statue, and it has a bunch of people with knives and swords like raised against him. And it is those three pictures, 2 in the top row, 1 in the bottom row, and it has the letters BRXU, and that's its own separate word, and then WXUQ, and that's its own separate word. So it's 2 words like Bruxu and Wukbu. And the reason why I think that this is the Julius Caesar thing is because you sent me in the tweet, you said @2, my Twitter handle, @1 Zach Johnson, which is a reference to @2 Brutus in Julius Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Julius Shakespeare's Julius Caesar? Oh my gosh! Julius Shakespeare, you know, William Shakespeare's brother. So William Shakespeare, Julius Caesar, boom. And that's what you were looking at here today.
Yes, that's right. That is Julius Caesar, the first emperor of Rome, famously played by George Clooney in the movie Ides of March, where he was depicted being murdered by his closest friends March 15th, 44 CE. But before he was murdered, he was the emperor of Rome and led a series of military campaigns to expand the Roman Empire. Now, when leading a military campaign, you need to get a lot of messages to your troops out in the field. Now, Zach, we can both agree that the past is awful.
The past is terrible. History is for nerds.
Yes. And back in the terrible, terrible past, messages were sent by men on horses. Now, these messages could be easily taken down by enemy soldiers or large birds or anything, because everything could kill you in the past. So it was important to keep these messages safe with brains instead of brawn. Because of this, the Roman military invented a system to encode messages in case they were intercepted by enemies. Now, about 100 years...
Ooh.
What?
I say, ooh, is this the system?
This is the system.
Oh, all right. Now I'm interested.
So one name for this type of cipher is the shift cipher. But in 56 CE, in the book The 12 Caesars, the cipher was attributed to Julius Caesar and renamed the Caesar cipher. So that was your clue to get you to figure out that it was a Caesar cipher, was that there were 3 pictures of Julius Caesar.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so Zach, a Caesar cipher is a pretty basic cipher, and it's actually, there's a lot of really cool examples. Now, we've known each other for a long time, and so I know that you like cartoons a lot.
Yep, that is correct.
That is correct. Are you aware of the show Gravity Falls?
I am aware of the show Gravity Falls.
Could you explain generally what the show is about?
Gravity Falls is kind of is a show in the same vein as the X-Files or Twin Peaks, for all those real hipsters out there, where this boy and this girl, they're its brother and sister, they are at this camp for the summer, and a lot of mysterious things are happening, so they need to solve all of these mysteries, and the mysteries usually revolve around something mystical or about science. And as the show goes on, it's revealed more and more that all of these things, all these mysteries are interconnected, and it all has to do with the location of Gravity Falls.
So you might not be surprised, considering there is so much mystery and puzzle solving in there, that in the credits of every single episode, there are ciphers. So the gibberish kind of word that I sent you today, there are things like that peppered throughout the credits of every episode, and they use various ciphers. And one of the ciphers they use is a Caesar cipher. Actually, for the first 6 episodes, all of their credit puzzles are Caesar ciphers. And I think it's maybe the second episode, if you go through and decipher it out, it spells "Welcome to Gravity Falls," which I thought was really cool. So there's, even though you hate puzzles and think they're totally stupid, there are some cool examples where people are using them.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm ready to go. You've pulled me in. I'm invested now.
Okay.
Like the Caesar thing was good, and then now the Gravity Falls thing. Like, I am completely invested. Let's solve this thing.
Okay. So the way you solve these messages is with a key number. Whoever you're sending it to would know that key number, so that if the message got intercepted in between, the person who intercepted it, not knowing the key number, wouldn't know how to decode it. And what you do is you take that key number and the letters in the message, you would shift them over that number. So, for example, if the key number is 2, then you would shift all of the letters over 2 places. So A would equal C, B would equal D, etc. So then when you were trying to decode it, you would just do the opposite. So every time you see a C, if you know that the code number is 2, you would just shift it back 2 places to the letter A. Does that make sense?
I'm on to you now. I have the magic decoder ring, and I'm on to you.
Okay, so walk me through this. How are you going to solve the puzzle that I sent you?
Okay, so I'm assuming that the code number is 3 because there are 3 pictures.
Correct.
Okay, and so now what I need to do is shift the letters up 3?
No, you would shift them back 3 because you're
Shift them
decoding it.
back 3. Okay, now the reason why that was okay, hold on. Here we go. So I shift them back 3. Oh man, I need the alphabet in front of me. All right, I got it.
What is it?
Your turn.
Thanks everyone for joining us for the first episode of Solve It. I'm Sam Cherry, co-hosting with Zach Johnson. You can find us on Twitter at Samuel_Cherry_, and you can find Zach at @1ZachJohnson. Tune in next week when Zach explains to us how to draw a map in 2 minutes that only takes 1 minute to solve. Thanks. Bye.